Mr. Laughton, Tommy Laughton, welcome to the Better Players, Better People podcast. This podcast is aimed at parents, teachers and students, and we're going to be discussing all things youth sport, and hopefully tonight we're going to be talking about school sport. I must say you're the first member of a PE team I've led to be on the podcast, so thank you so much and welcome.
No worries, thank you for having me.
So, Tommy or Mr. Laughton, how are we going to do this? Because students are going to be tuning in. Should we just go Tommy?
They all know I'm called Tommy.
They know you as Tommy. Okay.
That, yeah.
Right. So first question I like to ask people who come on the podcast is just tell me about yourself, qualify yourself. Obviously, a lot of people who are watching are going to know who you are, but if you don't mind, just give us a quick recap of your journey to date. How long have you been teaching? Where have you been teaching? Because we're going to get onto that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I've been teaching 6 years. I'm in my 7th, and I started teaching in 2019. Qualified as a PE teacher. Couldn't get a job in England. Found it tough to get a state school job in like the South Yorkshire area where I'm from, and then managed to get a supply teaching job in Doncaster. And during that time, I then got an interview for a job in Germany. I just threw it out there, didn't really think anything of it. Flew out for an interview in Germany and then managed to get the job, and then did 3.5 years there. Came back to the UK and worked in Ascot at a private school there for about 6 months, and then got the job in Dubai. And here I am.
Nice. Okay, I didn't realise you struggled to get a job in the UK, so it's competitive.
Yeah.
In the area you graduated from to get a role.
Yeah, I'd applied for, hundreds of jobs probably by that point, but I just got stuck not being able to get one. I got down to the last 2 on a couple of occasions in pretty rough schools around Barnsley, and yeah, I just couldn't get the job, so I just threw the Germany one out there, and luckily ended up getting it. Well,
their loss is our gain, because you went to successful schools in Germany, back to the UK, and now you're doing wonders at my school with the rugby program and so on. We discussed this during our inset at the start of the term, and reasons why we do what we do. Why did you become a PE teacher then?
I went through different stages of not knowing what I wanted to do. So I went to uni and did sports coaching and performance. I had the idea of going down a professional sport route of working for a professional sports club. Mm-hmm. I ended up in performance analysis, doing some work experience with Hull KR, who are a Super League rugby league team. Mm. And then realised quite quickly that I didn't really want to do that. It was very data-based, and at that time I'm not really a big fan. So I had a bit of a break after uni and went travelling, went to Australia, and then decided during that time that I wanted to become a teacher. And that comes from basically my teachers were the PE teachers at school were my favourite teachers. I always got on with them well. They always had a bit of banter about them in a different way to other teachers, I think. And I was always pretty bang average across most sports, I think, but did all right. So I was always in the basketball team, rugby team, football teams. So I always did all right in sport. So I always thought that's something that I'd like to do. And then from Australia, then I did my PGCE. So when I got back, did PGCE and then started applying for jobs. And obviously,
I didn't know that about you. That's quite interesting that you've kind of, you've went into another career and then you've come back to teaching. I always try to say that like teaching's like a calling, and you have to answer that call. There's a lot of people that will go into teaching straight from their degree, straight into a PGCE. They won't know with any other industry. But it's quite interesting that you've dabbled and went down sports science route, sport analysis route. I want to get onto Germany because that interests me a little bit. What was different about Germany and the UAE in terms of school sport?
Very different. A lot less structure. And there's a thing in Germany where it's called a Verein. It's like their sports clubs outside of school. So they're really big on that, and trying to get kids to just play for school was a challenge. And in the local schools, that's very there's not that much school sport, basically, is what I'm saying. So I was in an international school, and probably within a 70-mile radius, there's probably 4 international schools. So we had to do all our competitions against them. And there's countless occasions I'd be just walking around school, just dragging people into play in volleyball, basketball, football tournaments. So it's very different to Dubai when you compare it to DAS's, this big setup that's got multiple leagues and over a variety of different sports. So it's just massively different.
Yeah, and you mentioned DAS there. I think parents won't probably realise how good it is, you know, and how lucky we've got it. And a lot of it comes from the schools, because obviously it's competitive by nature to Dubai. You know, people want the best. They want the best school. They want the best sporting programme. But I think the way DAS has managed to shape its structure over years gone by, what it's created now is amazing. We were in Malaysia last year, and we were discussing school sport and what it looked like there. And a similar situation, I think, was it Epsom School down the south that, you know, was explaining the
driving range,
the struggle. Yeah, the driving range. We like that visit, but they struggle to get fixtures because of the distance they have to travel.
Yeah,
and you know, it's quite dense Dubai in terms of the number of schools. You just drive 5 minutes, and you probably go past about 5 or 6 schools. So I think that's probably led to what we've got now here, which is just an amazing school sports program. Keeps us busy.
Yeah.
Let's go back to it. You've obviously, you know, you've dabbled in the sports science. You've become a PE teacher. What you like about the role? What interests you? What keeps you motivated? How do you find being a PE teacher in Dubai?
I think it's how busy we are. It is a good thing, really. It keeps you. No day's the same, is it? When you're a teacher, every class you've got's different. You've got different challenges. You've got different things that you love about it. And we've also, I think, in Dubai, we've got that opportunity to actually coach and take teams regularly and get to know these kids really well. I think that's the difference from being in Germany, where fixtures, it'd be 1 or 2 fixtures in the whole school per week, whereas we're 5, 6, 7 a day, aren't we? So I think just that variety. I love teaching year 1 swimming, and I love teaching GCSE. So it's like that variety for me it keeps you motivated and keeps you on your toes, I think.
And I think because, look, we're competitive by nature. We're failed sportsmen, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're probably cut from the same cloth. We're failed sportsmen, and I think that need to compete, obviously, we can discuss what that looks like as a coach and how we manage that, because, you know, we talk all the time about we're not being the main thing. There's other things that we want to look for, but we love competition. Yeah. So the fact that you've just said there, you know, you love the fact that there's fixtures here. There's a lot of them, but compared to other areas in the world, Germany, we've seen what Malaysia was like, maybe the UK to a certain extent. There's not probably that number of opportunities to go to these big events and tournaments. I think that'd be a fair comment, yeah?
Yeah. I think you've got to be careful as well. Like, you can be, like, naturally we're competitive, we're sports people, that's just what we are, but you've got to be careful where depends. I think you've got to get to know your kids, your teams really well. So if I use the sevens team, for example, we were aiming a lot higher than some of the other teams in school, whether it's, I don't know, under 8s basketball, because we're playing on this big stage, and I got to know those boys really well. So I know what makes them tick, I suppose. So it would be a case of being a bit harder on them to get the best out of them. Whereas other teams, like the football team I had last year, very different, where they needed nurturing a little bit more, and the main aim wouldn't be to win the league, because that's just not realistic. Whereas I think some of the tournaments that we went in with the 19s rugby boys, they were realistic that we'd win, and we did come away and win. And that's a skill that you learn, I think, in teaching and coaching, and you're always developing that skill of being able to get to know your teams and what they need.
Let's get on to Dubai Sevens then, because that is such a big event for schools in the Middle East. That probably says, you know, schools travel in for it. And I loved joining the school last year and getting to learn how we operate and how we run that program at our school. How big an event is it? What's it mean to the kids? What's it mean to the school?
Yeah, it's massive. It's an opportunity for them to play in front of people. And I mean, I grew up playing rugby at school, and we would play in front of 4 or 5 parents. It's nowhere near that. And the kids get a bit shocked by it, I think, even though they're 18, 19 years old, whatever they are. They do get a bit nervous by it, but I'd be the same now, and I'm 31. So playing in front of people is obviously nerve-wracking. And like when we went into that plate final, it's about, what would it have been, 6:30 p.m. That pitch 2 is absolutely rammed full of people.
A few thousand?
There would have been.
A few thousand there, definitely, yeah.
So like me and Matt, who are the coaches, are trying to somehow tell these boys to calm down and think about the game. It's impossible.
Were you calm?
Could you I was all right, I think.
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but I think I was fine. I always do. I always try and come across calm. Yeah. Because if I'm calm, then they see that and they think, oh, I can relax. If I'm all let up and trying to get them going, then it might enhance their nerves, I suppose. But But I think that event was just massive, and it was. I was thinking about this earlier actually when we got to that plate final against Hurricanes and lost, and we went into the little tent thing where we were based afterwards, and one of the lads, the vice captain, he said, he just, as I walked in the tent, so I'm not even in there, he's got everyone sat down and he's telling him how proud he is and he doesn't care about the result, and he's just giving off this big emotional speech, and I've just walked in and I just thought that's what it's all about. That's all I'm bothered about. They're not bothered about winning the plate. Yeah, that'd have been a bonus, but the event itself was what they loved.
I've not heard you say that before. I've not heard that particular moment happen. I think for me, we call it the business end of school sport. It's the pinnacle. It's the highest level we can offer them, and we are in a unique situation to have access to that event. There's not other, you could be in other cities. They don't have that on the doorstep. So I think we're quite lucky. I think the kids are quite lucky, and the parents are lucky that we can provide that route way. We can only do that if we have a strong rugby program. So let's get into that, because it's not easy. I'm really quite lucky to have joined a school which has got a lot of the foundations in place. We've got a strong primary school with some great rugby players coming through. We've got help from coaches. But how easy, or not how easy, I know it's not easy. What are the challenges to maintaining rugby players in the sport? So when we get to under 16, under 17, under 18, under 19, we've got a group of boys to pick from. How hard is that?
It's tough. It is challenging, and we speak about this regularly about keeping kids at the school, and there's other schools that can offer other things for kids in terms of sport provision that we can't facilitate in terms of whether it's staff, whether it's facilities. We just have to try and get the best out of the kids that we've got and the kids that are going to stay with us. And it's not something that I think about kids, let's say they're leaving year 6 and they go to STC, these schools that are really high level or elite. And that's a good thing for us. That shows that we've done a brilliant job in primary, and they've been, or they've got then that access to improve even more. So I see it as a good thing, but then we've got then a job to, in that secondary section of rugby and sport, is to keep the kids that everyone really, to create those stronger teams so that we can, not necessarily stronger teams, but about getting as many players playing as possible. That's my thing. It's trying to bring in kids who've never touched a rugby ball and get them playing. And we had examples last year of under 19 boys who they'd never touched a rugby ball before year 13, and then one of the boys was playing at sevens. And that's what it's all about for me. It's exposing them to that kind of event is what we aim to do.
I think we might have to bleep those schools you've just mentioned there. Maybe. That's okay. Okay, let's get on to girls rugby then, because that's another thing that we've got going on at the school. We've got a strong foundation of girls playing in primary, coming through to secondary. We had a lot of success last year moving girls into contact. What are the myths with rugby that we deal with, not daily but weekly? Let's try and bust some of those misconceptions with rugby injuries and things like that. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is that why did the girls start contact rugby so late? I've never understood that, and I've only been in Dubai 2 years, and I've never understood it. It makes zero sense, because the earlier you expose kids to contact rugby and how to do it properly and technically how to tackle and run into contact and how to control your body, the more confident they become in that. So to delay that, just for me, makes no sense. That part of the game should be taught alongside passing, catching, running. So yeah, they're the challenges we face with girls rugby, because boys get exposed to that a lot earlier. They're doing contact rugby in year 4, whereas girls aren't doing contact rugby until year 9, and that's a massive difference. And I think that needs addressing and looking at by whatever it is, the Rugby Federation, and giving them that opportunity to expose to contact earlier, so that the standard is then higher and higher and higher. Because then you're not focusing on those contact skills as much. You're focusing on the tactical side of the game, like the boys are at that age. Yeah.
I think what I was trying to allude to there is the fact that there's a lot of people that think that rugby's dangerous, and you're right to say that. If we can teach the tackling technique younger, then it's it takes away all of that worry and concern and anxiety. But also, the stats will show there's more injuries in football. So, you know, football's played by boys and girls. There's less injuries in rugby than football.
Yeah.
Okay, Tommy, as I said, you're the first member of a PE team I've had on the podcast. You're also, and I need to put this in, you did say to me today, I should bring this up. You're the first member of a team I've ever had who's interrupted the meeting because you've had a phone call from a famous footballer. And I'm not going to name this footballer. I think we'll leave this as a little hook to see if the kids can guess. But he's won 5 Premier Leagues, a Champions League. He's been to World Cups with England. I think we'll say no more. But that was quite an interesting moment, wasn't it? Was that a friend from back home?
Yeah, I went to school with him. Yeah. We used to be good mates, and still waiting for a reply from a couple of months ago. But he's a busy lad.
He's busy, isn't he?
Yeah. So, just stayed in touch over the years. Not massively close now, but it's always been a case of just firing a message off, asking him how he's getting on. He's been the same with me. So, yeah, that call was pretty random. So that's why.
Barnsley boy, was he coming on holiday or something? Was it?
No, he just wanted to catch up. Yeah, he's got a place out in Dubai.
Okay.
But he just mentioned he'd not spoke to me for a while, so he wanted to chat, and we just had a catch up.
What did you say about him today? You said something in the office about what he was like in school. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah, very, very humble person. I think that'd be the main thing I'd say. And it clearly, I don't think he'd changed much. I think he's been brought up really well, and he's just such a normal lad who's worked his backside off to get where he is, and that's the long and short of it, really. Obviously, talent comes into it, but he was always the hardest working kid at school in terms of sport. Not the most academic, and I'm sure he'll admit that, but he's when it comes to any team, he'd always be first at training. He'd be the strongest in each team. So, for example, like in year 7, I was the rugby league boy who were quite rare at our school. So I grew up playing rugby league, and he came into the team in year 7, 10 times the player I am. Yeah, just took over as the best player by far, and then did it in basketball, did it in volleyball, table tennis, athletics, and just naturally very talented, but also willing to just work really hard.
Was this in secondary?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a secondary age boy, played rugby, basketball, football, found time for them, playing school sport, rugby, basketball, football. I think it's fair to say he worked his way up the leagues. Started with Barnsley.
Yeah, Barnsley, then went to Everton.
This is going to give it away now, but Barnsley, Everton, City. You can probably guess who it is now. Barnsley, Everton, City, but played those sports. Yeah. And yet we've got boys and girls who now are one sport from the age of 10, 11, because it can be for a number of factors, I suppose, but let's just say it's pay to play. So they're choosing that one sport to try and excel in that. But we know playing multiple sports is better for all sports, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. We're in a different lifetime, aren't we, really? Where when I was younger, my football would come from asking my dad to take me up to the next village, and we'd have a big game, 11-a-side, with loads of lads from school. Kids don't necessarily get that access anymore.
No.
Especially in Dubai, I think it's tough because there's so many different pockets of areas where people live from our school, for example. Yeah. And it's just not a cultural thing where you go out and you're playing football. You do see it, but nowhere near as much as when we were younger. Yeah. And then I think the cost as well, it's expensive. That's obviously gone up over the years. Yeah. The cost of playing for a team, especially out here, I've noticed it playing rugby myself. Yeah. It costs a lot more to play rugby here than it does back home.
But that's where the schools come in. And this is what we were saying today about, you're paying the school fees, you may as well make the most of the school sport. And unfortunately, and I don't think it's just at our school, but we're coming up with a lot of battles now with parents who are, he's got training tonight, he's got this club tonight, he's got that club on the weekend, which overlaps with our sport. And it's scheduling, isn't it? But yeah, the school, we offer variety. We'll offer that, the way the seasons are structured. So I just think it's fascinating to hear that this guy who's went on to have such a great career, still at it now, played all those sports when he was in school,
Yeah, and like I say, he just took it all in his stride. I think he got to a certain age where he was a bit more limited. I think Barnsley put a bit of a hold on what he'd do, so he stopped playing rugby in year 9. Year 10.
Year 10, yeah.
I think after year 9, yeah.
Yeah.
So he stopped playing them for the rugby team in particular because of the contact side of it. I think he still played basketball.
Yeah.
But he stopped playing school football then.
Yeah.
They must have stopped him playing.
Yeah.
Which I understand at that point because you're under scholarship, you're starting to get paid in a year or two. But yeah, I know what you mean with the parents out here. Like my thing is expose kids to as many sports as possible because no matter what it is, you're going to transfer skills across in some way. But it seems to be this thing where parents have like got their kid in one sport and that's it. They're aiming for the stars, and you're probably not going to know if someone's going to make it professionally, let's say, until they're 16, 17 maybe. And I know when I was younger, like my mum and dad had just, whatever I wanted to do, they'd be like, yep, go and do it. I'd played football, rugby, boxing. I went to a basketball club for a couple of months, I think, just to see if I enjoyed it and wanted to do it. And I think there's a bit of a limit on that, and parents can help with that by just exposing the kids to a bit more.
Yeah. Look, before we move on to PE teams and what it's like to work in a PE team, my PE team, be careful what we say. On rugby, I've met a few people on the podcast. We've had Pat Benson, we've had Aaron Persico. They've talked about the benefit to rugby. I didn't play rugby in school. It just wasn't a sport we played in my school. It was football in Liverpool, with basketball and athletics. I loved the rugby culture. The better players, better people was probably born out of the All Blacks, better players, better All Blacks. Tell me about the benefits of playing rugby off the field. How does it help create good people?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing rugby league back home. My uncle played for Great Britain, and my dad at the time was a referee in Super League, so quite high level. So I grew up with my cousins playing rugby in the garden and played it from being really young, and then joined a team, and then I've just played ever since. So I think it just instills a lot of skills that you can just take into life in the way of resilience is a massive one, because I was thinking about this earlier. If you compare it to other sports, so rugby, if you make a mistake, let's say a knock on, for example, someone's passed you the ball, you dropped it, the game stops. So for anyone, that's fairly embarrassing. The game's completely stopped, everyone's seen that happen, and then the game restarts again. If you make a mistake in football, let's say you've miscontrolled it, the game carries on because the ball's on the ground. Yeah. And I think that, let's say, embarrassment is something that you just sort of get used to. And, well, you never get used to it, but you move on from it quick, and you learn that in rugby. If you make a mistake, if you get ran over by a big lad and you've missed that tackle, you've got to learn from it quick. Otherwise, if you hold on to that, you're not at your best performance for your team. That's quite an interesting take. I didn't realise, I've never thought about that, but you're right, the game would stop and the player's got to move on quick. He's part of a team and he's got to get back in position and so on. Just on your dad being a referee then, how was that? How did he find that? Because if he was a football ref, I'm sure it might have been quite different. Yeah, I think that's something that even today just drives me insane. It's like, I played football the first year I got out here in Dubai, and the way fully grown men speak to the referees is embarrassing. And we see it in professional football, that they're all up in the ref's face. And you'd never see that in rugby because it'd just be a straight red card. And for that should be how it is in any sport. You shouldn't speak to officials in any way other than thank you and respectful. So I think that being a rugby player growing up just instills that in you straight away. Just respect referees for one, but then you've just automatically got that respect for other people then in life. And I'm not saying that footballers haven't got respect for people, but it doesn't help when you're seeing professional players in the face of a referee when they've made a decision. Yeah, and the kids see that and they think, oh, I can do that if Ronaldo's doing it. Yeah, it's so true. Unfortunately, it is just true, isn't it? Right, let's move on. We've got 5 minutes left. There's two things I want to discuss. We'll keep them quick on both of them. First one is Hard 75. I want to bring this up because you inspired me to do it. Okay, I'm still going. Good diet, training, and so on. But you are someone, and it's great to see a PE teacher who looks after themselves and loves fitness. So talk to me about, let's do it this way. Take me through a day, because I think that would be quite cool to hear. Demands of a PE teacher is 6:30 start, sometimes 5 o'clock finish. How do you manage to look after yourself fitness-wise? Because if you can do it, kids who haven't got those time constraints, parents who haven't got those time constraints can certainly do it as well. Yeah, it's tough. There's no hiding that. It's hard work, but it's. Is it 5 a.m. club? Are you 5 a.m.? Yeah. Oh, you're 5 a.m. club. Yeah. What time's bedtime? I aim for 9.
Really?
But yeah, anywhere between 9 and 10.
How old are you?
31.
Okay. You won't be able to keep that up, I think.
No, I've heard that, but I'm dragging it out as long as I can. So up at 5, just get ready, have a bit of a coffee in the morning, get to work, ECA starting at 6:15. Then what I'd do is usually I'd book a class for the evening. If there's no class available, or let's say I've got an away fixture, you're not going to be back till 6. Realistically, it's tough to get something in, but I'd always try and do something, especially when I did the challenge. I had to do 2 workouts a day. So it'll be a walk or a run or something that's a bit less time consuming. But yeah, I'd always try and book a class, some kind of functional fitness class, or do my own weight session.
Does booking the class make you a bit more accountable? You've booked it, you've got to go.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's not spend too much time on this. I want to get one more topic in before we finish. What are the benefits then of you keeping fit and active in your job?
I think perception is one. So kids look up to the PE teachers, and if I'm in decent shape, then I think that's only going to benefit them. If I'm trying to tell them what to do in a health related fitness lesson, and I'm not in decent shape, then they're going to look up and think, well, why are you telling me what to do? Yeah. And then if we're talking about like mentally and my attitude towards work, I think it helps me massively. Just making sure that I'm always working out in a routine. I think that I give a better product then when I'm at work, rather than if obviously we know the mental health benefits of working out and gym. So yeah, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel more fresh in the morning. It makes me more present in lessons. So I think I prioritise that to make sure that I give a better product when I'm teaching and when I'm in work.
Better product. I've not heard that before in teaching. Your students win. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Just let me check. See how long have we got? We're done. Let's wrap it up then. We'll have to come back for another time and discuss PE teams.
Yeah. Try it.
Mr. Laughton, Tommy Laughton, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Hopefully, I think the kids will find that quite interesting. I'm sure they'll guess the footballer. But thank you so much for your time, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.